the Garden of Urban Goddess, a space where we slow down, tell the truth, and allow what's been buried to finally breathe. So I invite you to take a breath with me in this moment. Just pause, feel, be present. I want you to close your eyes and slowly inhale through your nose, feeling that breath as it goes in and down through your chest, down to your stomach, holding that breath, and then slowly exhaling that breath out of your mouth. Ashe. So, again, I welcome you to the Garden of Urban Goddess. It has been a very, very long time coming. Okay. This garden was initially planted within my mind in 2014. And it's crazy because I have like notebooks that have so old and raggedy, right? But I have notebooks galore that I initially wrote this idea that came to me down. I thought I was ready then. Again, this is what we're in 2026 now, so this was 12 years ago. I thought I was ready in 2014. But that's when I was going through my awakening. That's when I was having my dark night of the soul, where everything was collapsing, where I had no idea what was going on. Um, and I had no where to seek understanding. Like I had to find it myself. And I refused to um, watch others suffer. Like I felt a calling on me then that I had to be the light to show other people who would possibly go through what I went through, to show them light, to be a lighthouse. Okay, so again, this garden has been a seed that was planted so long ago. And just think if I would have opened up and moved at that time. I mean, in 12 years, I've had so much more learning. I've had many more experiences, many more tower moments, many more dark night of the souls that have brought me so much wisdom and understanding, and perspective shifts. Okay, so truly, like when we think that we are ready, sometimes we're not. Sometimes we just know more than what we knew before. And a lot of times we want to rush and scream that to the world. But I had to truly learn how to trust spirit. I allowed spirit to take complete control and direct me on where I needed to go. I was directed in places that I had no understanding of, where my ego, which I knew at that time was my mind, where my mind did not want to. There was things that spirit would tell me to do, or directions they would tell me to walk in, and I would be sitting there having a whole hissy fit, like pouting and stumping, like I don't want to do this, I don't want to be seen, I don't want to work with this person or work with these people or put myself out there like that. But this was all for a bigger cause, and I am just excited that um, in this year of 2026, the year of the fire horse, which starts, I believe, February 17th, um, it's time for forward action. And even right now, I'm nowhere near polished. I don't know what I'm talking about, right? I don't know what I'm about to say. I have nothing pre planned. Um, but what I do know is that I was divinely guided and led to start now. And I truly believe that there's a purpose. I believe that me sharing my story, me sharing my light, me sharing the things that I have went through, me sharing the downloads that I have received about the collective and different energies that we are working with, and just healing in general. Because I love to observe. Um, I people watch, right? That's part of that Lyran energy. If you hip on the Lyrans, these celestial beings that I've been shown over and over again, especially in mushroom trips, right? That I study human nature, and it's a beautiful thing, right? To just understand the psychology, the minds of people. I also attended college briefly, right, for 2 years, but my major was psychology. And I've always had this fascination with how people think. I've always been known to be wise at a young age. And I've always been that person who people come to for guidance or to vent or um, just to love up on people. So the fact that my life has aligned to this path, I truly see why and how. And again, I never really wanted the responsibility, but I had to trust. Because one thing, Spirit didn't get me to where I am now without me trusting Spirit still. So I learned through life, through trials, that when I asked Spirit, which in the beginning, before I became spiritual, when I asked God to order my steps, literally singing the gospel song, Order My Steps, it led me to where I am now. And still to this day, I trust Spirit. I won't claim to know it all because I don't. I'm still learning every day. I love to say that I am a devoted student of truth. It is all about truth. It is all about being transparent. It is all about being authentic. It is all about allowing myself to be vulnerable and to feel, but also being open enough to honor the moment with being present and allowing the shifts, allowing the uprooting, the unlearning, to happen. And yeah, it's been a journey, and I am grateful to be here to share it with you all. Okay, so um, let me try to get back into um, what I want to come and speak about. Okay, so again, I welcome you into the space. I am glad that you are here with me. I am glad that you tuned in. I thank you for showing up to hear what I have to say, but most importantly, showing up for you. Okay, because we are reflections. We are, living in this world where we are all interconnected with each other energetically, and we are mirrors of each other. And, we need each other. We need to walk together to elevate, to see ourselves, to see um, that we are not alone, you know. So I truly thank you all for being here again. And then, right now, like, why this moment, right? Like, why right now? Um, and as I said before, this is never something that I would have written for my life, right? But I remember being a child and, being in elementary school. How they ask you what you want to be when you grow up? Like, what do you see a career being? And mine have shifted so much. Like, I went from wanting to be a doctor to wanting to be a lawyer because of my what I learned later in life, my Virgo stellium. I love to I pay attention to details, and I am very detailed. I will get to the root of things. And I remember my uncle. Shout out to my uncle Curtis. He told me when I was younger, like, you need to be a lawyer. So, I thought about that, but it never really stuck. Um, Stuck is not a word. It never really stuck with me. So, I remember one time, I want to say I had to be in like the fifth grade, and it came to me like, like I want to be known, and um, I want to get paid for just being me. I don't want to have to be performative and show up and, be something like everybody either wanted to be a basketball player or a firefighter or the president of the United States and all this good stuff. And I just simply wanted to live a life where I could just be paid by just being me, by just showing up. So I have been reflecting on that today because we are in the new moon in Capricorn. This is our first new moon in 2026. And it really just made me remember my childhood and me putting that intention out there. Like, I just want to be paid and live a life where I could just show up as being me. And it's kind of blowing my mind because as I started to get the visions in 2014 about me starting a podcast, um, it's I don't know, it's hard to say. Like, it just blew my mind then. Like, oh, like, you want me to go out here and teach this stuff that I'm learning? At that time I was in a real dark space, so it would have came off real negative. The wisdom, the grace wasn't present at that time. It was more so of being mad at the system, being angry at um, the control that we have within this matrix that we live in. Um, yeah, just highly upset at everything that I was waking up with, even down to religion. And we'll talk about that later on in future episodes. But I, uh, I never thought that it would be right now, and I'm grateful that Spirit has put that on my heart and allowed me to see that this is what I would be stepping into. But as years started to change, like, I didn't believe that was still the vision until it came back around full circle. Like, here we go. Like, you did it. You did the work. You cleared the energy. You released these old ideas. You released this old programming. You've allowed your character to shift. You've I won't say killed my ego, but I have healed my ego and allowed my ego to take the back seat so that spirit can lead this vehicle, this avatar that I am operating in right now. So, um, yeah, this did not come from planning, but this came from listening. Okay. So, the reason why this space exists, okay, so this is a space that I created to um, bring conversations that were had in silence um, out to the public. Like, these quiet conversations needed a home. And I remember when I was still in church, the pastor, actually, I was going through my awakening. So this was about, because after I awakened, I ended up going back to church. So this had to be like 2016. It's like 10 years ago. I remember sitting in church with my aunt and the pastor speaking on how we we receive messages that aren't always for us. Sometimes these messages that we receive are meant for the viewer. It's meant for the person that's listening to you, like the person that you're speaking to. Um, and we can hold people up. Oh, excuse the throat chakra. We can hold people up by not following what was put on our heart by the divine. So, our stagnation, our slow movement is because we are all interconnected, it is stopping the next soul from receiving what they need to awaken a certain part in them in order to move forward with something and possibly bless the life of another one. It's like a ripple effect. And because we all need each other, we're all connected. When he said that message, it hit me so hard, um, because I know that I was sitting on things that needed to be addressed, things that were very profound, downloads about the state of the world, about my hometown, Detroit, Michigan, and things that were taking place politically that made my spirit feel very uneasy and was nudging me to move different, to see different, um, knowing the direction we going in. Like people need to wake up and see the truth. Addressing elephants in the room from everything, not just from that standpoint I just spoke on, but just addressing elephants, period. Um, and this is something that I've grown a passion for, which may be controversial to some people, especially if I am in the midst of a conversation with someone. I want to get to the root of it. So I'm going to ask questions. I will pose questions to help people critically think deeper about where they are coming from. And some people don't like that. They don't like to have their truths questioned or their reality shaken. Um, but on the other hand, my life and my truths have been shaken up so many times to where I know that there's more. I know that um, our thinking and our visions can be limited based upon our upbringing, our conditioning. Um, yeah, like we can only see things through the lens that um, our vision was cultivated in, so it's so limited. And yes, that curiosity and that truth sparked from just that thought alone. And here we are. So, um, we could speak about reframing spirituality. Um, so, seeing spirituality as a relationship, not a rebellion. And a lot of times, most times, people will view others who walk away from the institution of religion, or from the idea of religion, um, which an etymology, if you look it up, Google is super free, right? You can even use AI, right, to answer every question that comes to your mind. But we know that religion means to bind, and I had so many different questions about religion. And again, I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes, but I had questions from my whole life. Again, growing up in the church, I like to say that I was like a radical for Christ. My grandmother had me in church every Wednesday for Bible study, every Friday for the youth ministry, and every Sunday, and even after church on Sundays for revivals and whatever other special engagements our church had. I was singing in a choir since the age of 5. I was on the usher board since the age of like 9, maybe earlier. But just fully in there, right? Um, Taking different, like different, how do I word it? We had like vacation Bible school, and we would have like these trivia, like shows or whatever. Yeah, I haven't even reflected much on that, but um, it was something going on. I believe it was during vacation Bible school, and we had like this contest where they was throwing out trivia about the books in the Bible and certain scriptures, and just about knowing the Bible in and out. And yeah, I had awards for that, like literally gifted awards for it, and at the time I was proud. Um, but I remember at that same time I had questions, and I would ask these questions and not get answers. And then when you ask too many questions, you're being told to, okay, that's enough. Like you don't question God, you don't, um, none of this stuff. And, it left me feeling very confused, um, because I feel like every question has an answer. But why don't these questions have answers? And why am I being put in a state of fear for asking these questions? So, yeah, it just wasn't resonating. But I left it alone. You know, I became a humble servant of the Lord and let it go. Um, and of course, started living my life and becoming a teenager, you know, not being so much, engulfed in the church, but living a life and still having that connection, but slowly kind of fading away, you know. So as I got older and I had my awakening, these questions came back full circle, and it's like, oh, like goodness, like I had questions that I couldn't get answered before, and now it makes sense. So, um, yeah, we're going to tackle that later down the line, but again, it's just a quick preview, right? So, where can I go? So I didn't just like wake up one day and was just woke, right? It came from a series of researching, of watching documentaries. And this was in 2014 for sure. I would call it documentaries and chill. But I would watch, I believe Hidden Colors came out then. I was watching Zeitgeist. Um, it was other documentaries going around too, that were just speaking about the truth of the world and about religion and the state of melanated people, and watching it and seeing the true history and realizing that, hey, like we didn't come from slavery, you know, like we were very abundant and prosperous before slavery, you know. um, we predate that. Like that's just a timeline marker, um, well down the line to our greatness and where we truly come from. So I would research, and I just went into this deep, like digging down a rabbit hole on finding what was true, what wasn't true, and again, a lot of unlearning, but learning truths, which had me showing up in the real world as possibly crazy, emotional, because everything that I thought to be true was being questioned. I remember even feeling upset because I've had family members who have transitioned without knowing this truth and living a life under a lie. And again, it could be so many things that we could talk about with that, which I do plan on getting into with the garden. Um, and again, I'm not here to convert anybody. I'm just here to converse. So I want to say that. So no pressure, just conversations, but I'm sharing my truth and the seeds that was planted within my mind. Okay. This is why it's the garden, because the mind is a garden. And I've had people sow seeds, and different seeds were planted um, throughout the time of me awakening, and even before then, because a lot of times we don't realize somebody planted a seed until it begins to bloom, and it doesn't just bloom right away. Like it sits in the dirt, you know, it sits in that darkness, um, in that solitude for a minute, before it starts to gain life and take shape. And that's what happened with a lot of these thoughts that I received, which is why I'm super, grateful, and I like to um, pay homage to all and who have taught me along the way. Okay, so what you can expect from this series, The Garden of Urban Goddess. Some episodes will be deep, some episodes will be light. Um, but I just want everybody to see me in a different light. I want to allow myself to be seen, allow my thinking process to be seen, allow the mirror reflection of self, you, to be seen with me. So take what resonate, take what you feel deeply within your soul, throw the rest out. Because all my truths won't be your truths, but I may say something that may spark um a inner knowing or recognition in self, where you're like, oh, like, it's not just me, I'm not crazy. So yeah, I just want to encourage people to be able to think on their own, to utilize critical thinking, and to trust spirit, trust that inner voice that is within you, the first voice that you hear when you are making a decision on something, that voice that just sounds like a whisper in the back of your head, um, but it has never led you wrong the times you did pay attention to it. But I want you to know how powerful that voice is when you truly lean on it in every waking moment. And that is the life that I have adopted. Um, and everything that has happened to me and for me was supposed to happen, and allows me to see even my dark days with grace, because although my ego, my mind, right, the me that I thought I was showing up at the time was not with it. It was always this nudge through spirit to do this, you know, move now, go this way, call this person, go to this event, and I'll just go and show up, and miraculous things will happen. Beautiful connections will be made. Um, Answers to questions that I've had would be answered through unknown sources that I would have just met in that moment. And it's like they walk right up to me and give me that answer. So again, I love my relationship with spirit. I love my relationship with the divine. Again, it has protected me up into this space here. And even today, like when I made the announcement on 11/11, I didn't know that that was going to happen until that day happened. And I had this full like surge of energy shock through my body, Kundalini energy just vibrating, very surreal feeling. And I felt like a fire up under my ass. Excuse my language, because I do have a potty mouth, and you will hear me season my sentences as we move forward. So if there are children watching, please just, I apologize to you in advance, okay? Because I have no control on how I'm going to express myself. It just flows, and it's just me. So, um, yeah, I forgot what I was saying because I had to think about the kitties. But yeah, I had no idea, but Spirit put this fire up under my ass and said that it's time now. And I'm like, right now. And again, I wanted to pout and kick, you know, because I have this level of wanting to be perfect and perfect things, um, and study more and take classes. I've taken classes galore, multiple classes on the same topics. you know, um, I'm always a student, and it's like, how much more do you need to know what you already know? You know, how much more studying, how many more teachers, before you trust yourself and know that you know it already. Um, and I never wanted to be put in a position to where I am on the forefront and I'm misleading. So I took that seriously, right? Um, but again, the fire got lit, and I'm like, okay, the time is now. So although this is not the setting that I intended, I wanted to have a completely different ambiance and aesthetic to how I would show up, and have my words and stuff more polished. But you get the raw, you get the real. And again, I thank you for being here with me. Um, so moving forward, I just ask that you just come as you are, that you are open to the message, you're open to the words that um, I share, about my walk and my journey, that you are receptive to the seeds that are planted, if they are for you and if they resonate. So just sit with what resonates, notice what stayed with you, And you don't need to have a name for everything. Sometimes it may just be a feeling, and that's perfectly fine. There's plenty of times I just felt something and didn't understand it until eons later. Okay. And I will definitely share a lot of that as we move forward. Okay. So, again, I thank you for listening. I thank you for being here. Um, and know that you are not alone. Okay. I am here with you. Okay. So, before we part, let's take a moment to return to ourselves. If it feels right, I want you to place one hand on your heart and one hand on your womb space. If you don't have a womb, just place your hand and rest it wherever you feel grounded. I now want you to take a slow breath in through your nose and release it gently through your mouth. Allow whatever stirred within you to settle in. You don't have to understand it, you don't have to name it, just notice it. May anything that resonated take root in its own time. May anything that didn't gently fall away without judgment. We honor the wisdom of the body, the quiet knowing of the spirit, and the sacred timing of becoming. As you leave this space, may you walk with clarity where clarity is needed, softness where healing is unfolding, and courage where truth is calling you forward. This garden remains open, not to convince you, not to convert you, but to remember. Thank you for tending this moment with me. Until we meet again, be gentle with yourself and trust in what is growing. Peace and love. I thank you, and we shall talk again soon. Peace.